Okay, so my number 12 is an album called The Bravest Man in the Universe by Bobby Womack. It came out in 2012. So, when I first got a record player, I'd kind of decided that I would only buy albums that I didn't have, so sort of new discoveries, because I've had lots of stuff on CD or MP3 or whatever, so that was the idea. It didn't really last all that long. I've ended up just buying my favourite albums again on vinyl, just because. But while I was kind of doing this, I picked up this album it was kind of when HMV first started stocking vinyl again, and they had quite a good selection, but I had no idea who Bobby Womack was, but he's a kind of R&B sort of gospel kind of type singer. He's got a singing style not too dissimilar from the likes of James Brown. I haven't really gone back to his other music, but The Bravest Man in the Universe is quite a departure from that sort of R&B gospel singer-songwriter kind of music that he was known for. I think, in fact, before this album came out, he'd had something like a 20-year break from music due to sort of issues with hard drugs and alcohol. But when he came back with this, at the age of 68, he decided he was going to do something new, and he ended up kind of joining forces with Damon Albarn of Blur and Gorillaz fame. And certainly the work that Damon Albarn had done on the likes of the Gorillaz albums in terms of just sort of electronic sounds are very prominent on this album. It takes Bobby Womack's lyrics and sort of aching vocal styles and layers them on top of big thudding bass and synths, and it just turns it into this kind of weird folky kind of electronica album. And it was kind of just a lucky chance that I took on an album, and it turned out to be this really weird kind of left turn that an established artist took in his old age, essentially, because he did this when he's 68, but he died a couple of years later at the age of 70, so it's like the last hurrah for him. So it's not as sort of fun as the Gorillaz. There's a sort of comic element to Gorillaz music, but it's got that sort of electronic and dance sensibilities. It can be fairly subdued, and that goes well with, like I said, Bobby Womack's sort of aching vocal style that he's got. There's a lot going on in every song, lots of different layers of electronics and percussion and all sorts of stuff, but they still sound kind of loose and sparse, and bringing them all together is dealt with lightly. It's not just all these kind of things shoved in as much sort of stuff as possible. I think Damon Albarn's kind of proven that he's sort of a master of production, certainly on some of the Blur's later albums like Out of Time, and certainly on Gorillaz albums, just completely different from what he's done before, but really successful. So whilst there's all that going on, there are the odd conventional song. There's a song called Deep River, which is just Womack's soulful creaking vocals and a fairly busted sounding acoustic guitar. I mean, at times it sounds like he can't even play the guitar, which is quite... But there's a charm about that, just really kind of subtle but almost broken sounding guitar music. But the first half of the album's fairly slow out of the gates, but because I bought this on record, it's side B that really got me into the album. That side opens with a song called Stupid, and there's a sort of wee interlude as that song opens, and it's a sort of quote from Gil Scott-Heron, who's like a sort of beat poet, sort of early kind of hip hop from the 70s, and there's a little bit of spoken word from him, and then this sort of twinkling piano starts to come in, then a kind of bass starts bouncing, and there's a sort of grooving drum beat, and it's just a fantastic song. And every time that piano twinkle kind of comes in, I just get chills every time. And again, Bobby Womack's vocal performance is just astonishing. There's more poppy sounding songs. There's like Love Is Gonna Lift You Up, which is just essentially a sort of an electro bounce with synths. There's some brass in there, but it's just, the chorus is just that Love Is Gonna Lift You Up repeated over and over again, it's really it's a really uplifting song, as the name would kind of suggest, and it kind of ends on, it goes back to its roots a little bit on the track Jubilee, which sounds like a sort of Underground Railroad gospel chant, you know, like sort of the wade in the water, that kind of chant from the slave era, and but it's over this kind of atonal bass sort of bounce, so it's still got this weird electronic dance element to it, and I like that juxtaposition of the old and new styles brought together, and I think that's what kind of drew me into this album. And it's a real hidden gem, I think, because I don't think anyone really talks about this album or has really heard of it. It's just kind of one of those things, take a chance on it, and you end up discovering an album you really love. So that's why it's in this list at number 12.
I'd heard of Bobby Womack, but yeah, I thought he was long since gone by the time, 2012 came around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, if you've heard Bobby Womack before, but you've heard his older stuff, then this is the only thing that's familiar on this is his voice and his style of singing, probably, and that's about it. Otherwise, it's just kind of at the time, at least, it's like a bang up to date kind of experiment, as I think it paid off.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the title of the album kind of explains it all. It's called The Bravest Man in the Universe. It's this old artist just taking a mad chance on new style production and style of music.
Taking a punt, yeah.
So, yeah. The Bravest Man in the Universe by Bobby Womack.